Okay, welcome everybody. To actually introduce our presenter today, our presenter is Tim Lee, who is the founder and executive manager of cashstream.com.au. Tim spent over 20 years in the commercial finance markets, both here in Australia and internationally, as an account manager for divisions of international banking groups like HSBC and Lloyds TSB, as a business development professional for major commercial financiers, so GE Commercial Finance, and also as a commercial finance broker. He's also an economics graduate, has an MBA, and is a published author on commercial finance. So welcome, good morning Tim, it's nice to have you online.
Hi there, thanks Karen, but thanks everybody for taking the time out of your days to get involved in the actual webinar. Okay, well, shall I just start off just by introducing ourselves, just for a number of you that may not know us. I mean, CashStream, we're basically commercial finance brokers. We specialize in commercial. We don't get involved in residential. We were established in December '07. We aggregate through AFG, very similar, obviously very similar to yourselves. And our objective is to become Australia's first online commercial finance broker. And just to sort of give you a wider perspective, we have within our network a number of very, very tight commercial finance specialists, which actually enables us to cover the majority of areas of commercial finance that is being looked at. The markets are very, very difficult and very tight at the moment, so we do bring specialists in that have got very tight skills as and when we actually need them. But if I might do, let's start off by looking at the objective of what we're looking at today, and really it's to try and help you guys identify and originate commercial finance opportunities. And I guess the reason behind that is obviously most of you deal with residential finance and financial planning, and it's a question of just trying to get some pointers and some ideas of how to identify commercial opportunities. And I guess the key thing is, well, why actually look at commercial opportunities? In the first instance, it'll be the idea of some new revenue streams, in the form of additional commissions. I guess it's also the idea of enhanced customer service, because if a client comes to you with a problem, you don't want to send them away with a problem. You want to give them a solution of some description. The final thing, I guess, is really the protection of your existing trail book, because one of the biggest problems that can exist is if you don't look after your client, they can go elsewhere, which means that the potential trail book from your residential mortgages may well go elsewhere as well, which obviously nobody wants. So it's really the idea of trying to help you spot and pinpoint some transactions. So I guess if we just bring up the poll first of all.
Yep, I can. Sorry, the poll should be coming up now.
Okay, excellent stuff. So just really wanted to get a handle on approximately what percentage of your customer base have their own business.
Okay, so we've got about half of everybody's voted. I'll just leave that open for another second or so. If you haven't voted, if you can click one of the options on the screen, please. Okay, I'm closing the poll now, and you should see the results on the screen. So, Tim, we've actually got 14% said that there is less than 10%, 43% between 10 and 25, and 43% between 25 and 50, and nobody more than 50%.
Okay, so we've got a fair number of you have actually got commercial clients, which okay, that's a good thing to actually get a handle on. I guess the first thing is, what do we actually mean by commercial finance? There are three principal areas that one can look at. Clearly, there's plant and equipment, which might will be in the form of maybe motor vehicles, yellow goods. It could be plastic injection molding machines, a whole variety of plant and equipment. With the next area, typically the warehouse space that your clients might be operating out of. It could be property developers that you might be working with in terms of construction finance, those types of areas. And I guess the last one is very much sort of the working capital side, looking at how do businesses actually get funded, looking at things like inventory finance, expansion capital, and debtor finance. Those, generally speaking, probably cover about 80% of the commercial finance inquiries. Certainly we see. I mean, clearly there are other areas. But let's actually explore the importance of a couple of things. And I guess one of the key things is it's all about timing. As in residential, it's very much about the timing. And as the expression on the page there, sort of luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And I guess, and if you'll excuse the actual cartoon here, it is ideally a question of being prepared, of actually thinking proactively. And I mean, a lot of these things are very intuitive in the way that you're actually looking at traditional business development. It's understanding the options that are available to the clients, the commercial clients as well. And I guess finally, actually understanding your client's business. That's probably the most important area of this whole area is trying to understand your client's business. And there are some very important issues that are facing your clients right now. And let's focus on a couple of those, just so that you can just start to think about your customer base. For example, one of the key things is that we've got Christmas coming up. Okay, admittedly it's in sort of a couple of months' time or so, but what does that actually mean to the clients? It has a very profound effect upon a number of different commercial sectors. For example, if you think about importers and distributors and wholesalers, they're all gearing up towards their retail customers actually selling product, because clearly during the end of November to December, stock is actually flying out of the doors of the David Joneses, all the retail outlets in this type of area. So it's a very important issue for importers, distributors, wholesalers, and also the retailers. So it's a question of what does one actually look at in terms of trying to help them. And I guess the key thing is if you think of working capital. Because if you think of your customer base from the commercial perspective, those wholesalers and distributors and importers have to buy the product in normally from overseas, whether it be China, from Europe, wherever it might be, and they have to actually gear up, actually get that product into the shelves of David Jones or Myers, whatever it might be, and they need additional cash. So it's the idea that those types of things can look at things like inventory finance or debtor finance, whereby you're providing finance against the invoices. We can get finance sourced against purchase orders, for example, and these types of things. So it's very much looking at the idea of trying to raise additional cash. And what you'll probably find is that there'll be a number of your clients that will come through to you to actually remortgage their house to try and get some additional finance. Now, one of the key things is with working capital, we do have lenders that can lend money to businesses without taking real estate security. So, for example, if your client comes through to you and is looking towards remortgaging their house, you might want to assess the idea of saying, well, do you want to actually increase your own personal risk in relation to your existing house? Why not have a look at some other options? And these can be inventory finance or debtor finance, for example, which are not secured against the property. So the idea is that, when we look at the inventory finance, it enables them, for example, to buy more product in without actually having to put any real estate up for security. And equally, the invoices they've got outstanding, if they are waiting for cash to come in, that can stifle their cash flow. And if they've actually got business-to-business transactions actually outstanding, we can raise a lump sum against their outstanding invoices. So the idea is, let's say that there's a company turning over about $5 million, has got $500,000 worth of invoices outstanding. As a ballpark, we can get about $400,000, between $350,000 and $400,000 upfront into their cash flow. So these sort of things are actually very important for you to actually contemplate. And there are other things that we're going to explore further on, but certainly, Christmas does become a very important time for cash flow. And you'll see the diagram there of the tap there. It's very important over Christmas because what happens between mid-December and typically mid-February is that nobody pays anybody. So what you find is your clients that are on a business-to-business basis will actually be very, very tight for cash because they can't get the cash in from their customers because nobody's paying them. So as a result, between Christmas and February, what they find is they've still got to pay their overheads. They've still got to pay rent and or any debt they might have or all the other overhead costs, but they've got no cash coming in. So cash flow gets notoriously tight. And what you find is that the majority of insolvencies actually occur in the Aussie market in March every year, where the legacy of this really tight period comes home to roost. So I guess the issue really is to understand your client's business